to Olfactofiles. I'm Tara, and today I'm going to be ranking the women's collection from Parfums de Marly. Before I get started, I just want to mention that I have not ever smelled Sedbury, so that particular fragrance from the women's collection will not be included just because I've never smelled it. It is a tuberose-based fragrance, and if I do get the opportunity to sample it at some point, I definitely will. But currently I've never smelled that one, so I can't include it in my rankings. But let's go ahead and start with one that I do have a sample of, and that one is Darcy. And Darcy has a lot of patchouli. So let me go ahead and spray this here. I've tested all these, either I own them and I've tested them many times, or these samples I've at least tested a couple times now. So if you've ever smelled Coco Mademoiselle from Chanel, I think this smells pretty similar, so you might have an idea of what this smells like. I don't love this scent, to be quite honest. This is not something that I would buy a whole bottle of, but if you do really like Coco Mademoiselle or you like patchouli fragrances, I think this is a good representation of that, and I actually do prefer it slightly over Coco Mademoiselle. I think this just is a little bit more well blended than Coco Mademoiselle, but I think that is, again, not a fragrance that I personally love, but I do think it's a great fragrance as well. But this one is kind of in line with that. So that's going to be the bottom of my ranking. So let's see here. I have about 7, I think, total. So this is going to be number 7. By the way, and I'm sure most of you know this, but if you are going to be sniffing a lot of different fragrances, it's a good idea to have something like coffee beans to smell in between. I've heard some people say just drinking some water between helps, but yeah, you're going to overwhelm your senses if you just keep smelling stuff nonstop, and you're not going to pick up notes very well, or be able to tell much of a difference. So something like coffee beans is a good way to go. Luckily, my husband roasts coffee beans, so we always have fresh ones. In the number 6 position is a fragrance that I do quite like, and I own a bottle. It is this one. It's called Meliora. And I think for a lot of people, they would put this one higher on their rankings of Parfums de Marly fragrances, but it isn't as high for me in general. I do like fruity fragrances, but there are some other styles that I tend to prefer. So this one here, you get, or I should say I get mostly the blackcurrant and berries. I believe there's also cassis, and there's some sort of musk or in the base there. I'm not sure what kind of musk. I can't pick apart notes that well. I am not a professional. But there's some sort of musk in the base. I'm trying to think if I get much else. That's the main thing I get. I do know there are some other notes in here. I think cassis is in here and some vanilla, but the main things I pick up are the blackcurrant, the berries, and a little bit of that musk. I think there are also some florals in there too. But anyway, that one is Meliora. I would say the longevity on this one is moderate. Projection, again, probably low to moderate. And in general, unless I say otherwise, it's kind of true of most Parfums de Marly fragrances. In fact, that's probably my biggest criticism of the majority of the fragrances from this line, is that they don't last as long as I would like, and they don't project as much as I would like, but there are some exceptions. In my number 5 spot is another one that I only have a sample of, and that's this one right here. This is Athalia, and the bottle for this one is really pretty. It's like an opaque black one with gold, and I think this would be something that down the road I would consider picking up. It is an iris-based scent, and that's the main thing I get from this, is the iris. I know that there are some other notes going on, but this is primarily an iris fragrance to me. When I tried this out, it had pretty good longevity. In fact, I think it's one of the better ones from this line in terms of how long it lasts. Again, doesn't project like a ton, within arm's length for maybe the first couple hours, and then it becomes more of a skin scent. But I do think that one's really nice, and if you also like iris fragrances like I do, I think that's a good one to sample. So the next 3 were hard for me to figure out where to rank them, because I do really enjoy all of them, but I decided to go ahead and put Safanad in my number 4 spot. And Safanad is a sort of orange blossom vanilla fragrance. I get a lot of orange blossom in the opening, but this does dry down to primarily a vanilla scent. There is I believe also a pear note in here that I can pick up a little bit. And I do pick up ylang ylang in the opening for sure. I can pick that up. But that's, again, I'm not a professional. I'm not gonna be able to pick up all the notes. But I think, honestly, in my opinion, it's more helpful to hear like what somebody can actually detect versus what the list of notes are, because for a lot of people, even hearing the notes is still difficult to figure out what it might smell like. But if you can't really detect it, like if it's just so well blended or if there's just so much going on that you can't pull out individual notes, then I'm not sure how helpful that is. I do think Fragrantica is a great place to look if you want to find out all the different notes in a fragrance. But like I said, I think a lot of times just hearing what the average person, or you know, like the average person who's into fragrances can pick up, I think that's really helpful because it kind of tells you like what are the standout notes or the main things driving that fragrance. So anyway, that one primarily I get orange blossom, ylang ylang in the opening, maybe a little bit of the pear that I think is in there, and then mostly vanilla in the dry down. Not great performance on Safanad, unfortunately. The bottle is one of my favorite, it's probably my favorite bottle design of any that I have. But the performance not fantastic. I would say this lasts about 4 hours on me and it doesn't project very well, but it is a really pretty fragrance, which is why it's in my number 4 position. In my number 3 spot is one that I don't even have a sample of right now, but I have sampled before, and it is the original Delina. Now, what I'll do here is I will talk more about the original Delina when I get to the other version of Delina, which I'm sure you realize at this point is coming up. So I'm gonna go ahead and move on to the number 2 spot, and then I'll come back and talk more about Delina. In my number 2 spot is this one right here. And this one is called Cassili. And again, of course, you have the beautiful bottle that you have for all of them. This one's sort of a peach color and it's one of the painted glass ones. This one doesn't project a ton, but it does last longer on my skin than most of them do. And that's part of the reason why it's in the number 2 position. But also I just really like this fragrance. It has, I can pick up frangipani, and then I know it has some fruits in it like plum or maybe red currant or black currant, something like that. But I get mostly frangipani and maybe some other florals is what I mostly pick up, with a little bit of plum. That's about all that I can detect, but I know there's a lot more there. Cassili is also one that I've heard a lot of men in the Facebook fragrance groups that I'm in say that they really enjoy on a woman. So if that is a motivating factor for you, to me, it's not as much. But if that's a motivating factor to you, this is one that seems like a lot of men enjoy as well. Of course, we know Delina is often a favorite for men too, but this is another option if that's something that you're looking for, maybe for a date. Okay, and in the number 1 position, which I'm sure you've guessed by now, is this beauty right here. This is Delina Exclusif. And this version is my favorite version of Delina between the two. They're both really pretty though. Delina, like I said, is my number 3, then Cassili, and then Delina Exclusive at number 1. So in this one, in the opening, I definitely pick up rose and the lychee. Those are the 2 notes that I primarily get in the beginning. Again, I know there are some other notes. I think there's pear in here, there's some vanilla, but I get a lot of the rose and lychee in the opening. Now, let me talk about this versus the original Delina and why I prefer this version. So Delina Exclusive has a lot of the same notes as Delina, but it is missing the rhubarb. The rhubarb is only in the regular version of Delina. And I don't know if it's specifically the rhubarb or what it is that's driving it, but the regular Delina is more tart to me. And this one is a little creamier, less tart, of course, and it's just a little bit more refined. I also find the longevity of Delina Exclusive to exceed or outperform Delina. So if that's important to you, that your fragrance lasts quite a while, I think they're both decent, but Delina Exclusive definitely has better longevity and also better projection. This one does project on me at arm's length at least for quite some time. I would say at least the first 3 to 4 hours, I can get some good projection from this, as well as a decent scent trail, or sillage it's called. But the regular Delina, I would say, projects maybe only for about 2 hours, and just in general wears off faster on me and my skin. Now, I don't have a bottle of the regular Delina because I don't think that you need both. I think what a good idea would be is to get samples of both, which is what I did, and figure out which one you prefer. And if you want to have both, fine, go for it. But I think that they're similar enough that you don't need both. It's just a matter of which you prefer. Do you prefer the more tart one? I also think that that tartness makes it feel a little bit younger. Not that this is a scent that is like for older people by any means. I think both can be worn by women of any age. But that tartness makes it just feel like a little bit more like a youthful fragrance, whereas this is a little bit more refined to me. Like I said, a little more creamier, a little sexier, I think even, but I like them both. So I would recommend getting a sample of each, comparing for yourself, seeing which one you prefer on your skin and with your particular taste preferences. But for me, I preferred Delina Exclusif, and I think it lasts longer. So that is my #1 pick from Parfums de Marly. All right, so that's it for my rankings of the Parfums de Marly women's line. I hope that you guys enjoyed this. I really, really like this brand, as it's probably pretty obvious considering I have 4 full-size bottles from them. Do I think that they're worth the full price? I think that if I had no option but to get Delina Exclusive at full price, I would pay full price for that one, but I wouldn't because I don't have to. The rest, no, I don't think I would pay the full price for. I definitely see these on discounters a lot, so check there. If you need help finding them at discounters, or if you don't really know what discount fragrance websites are that are good and like trustworthy, you know, leave me a comment. I'll be happy to direct you in the right direction. They're not always available there, but I see pretty much all of them pop up at discounters like regularly. Okay, so definitely for the prices you can find them there, which is usually more around the $150 to $200 price range. I think that they are really great fragrances, but at that $305-ish price point that they are regularly, the only one that I would buy if I couldn't find it elsewhere is Delina Exclusive. So hopefully that helps. But anyway, I hope you guys liked this video. If so, give it a thumbs up. If not, give it a thumbs down. Let me know. I don't care either way. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing. I will definitely be doing more ranking videos, review videos, some fun tag videos, all kinds of things like that. So if you like this kind of stuff, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.